Thank you. Well, it is really exciting to be back at the Computer History Museum with my good friend, mentor, colleague Eric Schmidt, and my friend Jared. Last time we were here, we were talking about Lean In, and today we are talking about the new digital age and the future of the world.
You know, I mean, you've really done this job on Google now, because I keep running into Lean In, Lean In, Lean In within Google.
We're excited.
It's like you still work there.
We're excited, but it's a real treat for me. Eric, I owe my career to Eric. Eric was the first person who hired me in Silicon Valley, and many people wouldn't, so.
It worked out well for you. You've done so much better since you left Google.
Well, I feel lucky because we talk about this a lot. Everyone needs the mentors and sponsors in your life, and Eric has been that and continues to be that for me, and I'm so grateful. And I first met Jared when I first came to Facebook, and he is friends with our head of product, Chris Cox. And Chris said, there's this one guy in the State Department, and he totally gets it. And he runs around the world trying to get other people to get it. And so he has been a voice that has been super important to our industry and to technology, and I think to peace all over. So exciting to be here with both of you. So we're going to start at the beginning. You're both fairly busy dudes, right? I mean, job. And it's not even that obvious that you would even know each other that well. So let's start at the beginning. You tell the story so nicely in the book. How did you meet? And what would possess you to sit down and write this? Where does this card?
Well, you know, my friend Don wanted to visit his son who's fighting in Iraq. And so I went along. I figured, you know, Thanksgiving in Iraq with the troops would be sort of interesting. And so we show up in Baghdad. I think we were the first people to show up on a commercial flight. Sort of got lost in the airport with the Marines on the other side.
Did they know what to do with you? I mean, you're
no.
Go this way, sir. Go. All right.
And so
Hi,
Jared,
here I am in Baghdad.
So
okay.
Jared, I meet Jared, and because it was such an interesting visit, my daughter Sophie was with us, and we took videos. And I remember playing the videos when I got home, and all I heard was Jared's voice. Talk.
Now, is that because he talked the most, or because he had the best things to say?
No, he just talked the most.
Well, what I remember about Eric, so we get to the airport, and normally people, when you arrive and you don't see the guards anywhere, they're like eager to get out of there. In Eric's case, they put this flak jacket on him, and they're ready for him to go. And what does he do? Before he will leave the airport to go to the green zone, he insists on asking the security detail to give him an in-depth history of flak jackets. And it's not because he's worried about his safety and security, it's because he's a geeky scientist and wants to really understand the history of flak jackets. Why is this Velcro here? At what stage in its history did it move from over there?
Why doesn't it protect certain parts of me?
Was there an answer to that?
Not one the Marines were willing to reveal.
But Cheryl, the lesson of this experience is, you know, when you travel in a war zone with somebody, you become very close with them. And since then, we've traveled to somewhere between 40 and 45 countries together. And when we first began this journey, we had an argument about stability versus instability. Eric wanted stability, nice hotels, kind of easy to go in and out.
Would you stop? Look, the basic problem here is that Jared does not like to go to normal places, right? So he has never been to South Korea, and he wants to go to North Korea.
And there's only one place I couldn't convince Eric to come to with me, which was Somalia. And it was probably better.
There's no hotels at all.
or government, or banks, or institutions. Yes, that is true.
So I'm still not going.
It's actually the one place where I don't think I'm going to go back.
Oh, shocking.
And of course, we go to South Sudan. We somehow convinced him to go to South Sudan. It's the world's newest country. So we get there, and 98% of South Sudan's revenue comes from oil. And the government in Khartoum has basically cut off the pipeline. And so they basically have no money, no roads, no police force, nothing. And so they have the leadership has an hour with the two of us. And what do they choose to do? Spend their entire time handing us their Android devices, asking us if we can debug maps for them. Priorities.
By the way,
so
one of those guys is the rebel president now.
It's unclear whether he's still involved in governing.
Okay.
He seems to have left.
Welcome to
So you're watching the video, and you're listening to Jared's voice, and this makes you want to write a book.
No, so I eventually talked to Jared, and we met in New York, and I said, what do you want to do? And he said, I wanted to write a book. And he started talking about his ideas, and I said, that sounded pretty interesting to me. Because it turns out that the foreign policy people sort of don't understand technology, and the technology people don't really understand foreign policy, and I certainly don't understand foreign policy. So in wandering around, you'd be shocked at how miserable most people's lives are like, right? We take the wonderful world around us for granted. We're very fortunate here. Maybe we could fix some of these problems.
If we work together. So the book starts out with two really bold sentences, and I'm going to ask each one of you about one. Eric, this was a hard one for me to read. You write the book, and it says, the internet is among the few things human beings have built that they don't truly understand. I know I don't understand the internet, but I felt very certain you did. And to be honest, if you don't understand the internet, I'm pretty sure really no one does. And even at the Computer History Museum, that's a little concerning. But Eric, what do you mean? What do you mean by we don't understand? That is built by humans, but we don't understand.
My career has been, for the last 35 years, within a half a mile of our physical location right now. And I'm constantly surprised. I think I kind of understand it, and then something wild and wacky comes out. I remember in 1993 sitting in my office a half a mile from here at Sun, thinking, things are really boring, and I kind of understand it all. And that was the month I saw Netscape, or what the Mosaic browser at the time. People are enormously creative. They're enormously surprising. They are not utilitarian and follow rules and so forth and so on. And the internet is the first time when we can hear all of them at once. And I think that for the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to see more surprises, more good surprises and more bad surprises. Right? And all of us here in this room, we live with this. Oh my God, WhatsApp worth $16 billion, as an example.
Just as an example. not relevant to today's discussion. Jared.
Sorry, Cheryl, I didn't.
No,
that was
no,
a
we're
little
good,
low
we're good.
blow.
Jared, the next sentence in the book is actually amazing. The internet is the largest experiment involving anarchy in history. You are a student and a scholar and a practitioner of what is civil society and what is democracy and states. Why is this anarchy?
So if you think about the definition of anarchy in the context of international relations, it was coined in the early 20th century around the idea that even though every piece of territory on Earth is or will be carved up into some kind of sovereign territory, the world is not governable in the sense that there's no central leadership. And then if you fast forward, every attempt that the world has made to try to create a global leadership body, it's basically been rendered ineffective, which is one of the challenges with international institutions. Then you look at the internet, with only 2.4 billion people online today, and another 5 billion people coming online. Think about the trouble that states are already having in dealing with this mass migration to the online world. So then you add another 5 billion people, and the prospects of one, replicating the laws of the physical world in cyberspace, seem very difficult. And then two, controlling the entire thing is a far more difficult experiment than controlling the physical territory.
We can't even agree on some basic rules between countries. So now we've got to deal with globalization of issues of copyright, issues of censorship, issues of free speech, issues of morality and communications. What do we do when something bad is happening? And I think the other thing is that, and since we've been on book tour for a while, we've been talking about this, maybe there are limits to what the internet can do. Maybe there are some problems that not even the internet
At the
can
Computer
solve.
History Museum, you're willing to say such a bold statement?
We might discuss that.
There might be limits.
But also, we describe the internet in the book as the world's largest ungoverned space. And if you think about the instruments of state power, militaries, economic power, et cetera, they don't really work in the online world, say, as effectively as they do in the
But talk
physical
about Westphalia.
So the Treaty of Westphalia, which basically established the international system of sovereign states, is based on an idea that you can have different legal jurisdictions that are guarded by physical boundaries. All of that begins to break down as these worlds come online. What's interesting is what it does to disrupt the balance of power in the world. So one of the arguments we make in the book is that states will have their physical power, which is based on traditional instruments that we discussed before, but a state may be a cyber power in the online world when in fact it's very physically weak. So if you look at like Estonia and Sweden, these are two countries that can punch